Hello Internet, Seth Skorkowski, and today we'll be reviewing the Call of Cthulhu scenario, the Ilsley Variant. Written by Rick Hudson, the module appeared in the 2011 monograph, Dead Leaves Fall and Other Halloween Horrors. Coming in at 11 pages, the scenario is short enough to play in a single session. It's a mystery adventure that takes the heroes far from their home, likely Arkham, and brings them to Texas, where they'll face some great combat. There's also a wonderful tie-in to a particular 1930s pulp author that I'm fond of. Now, what originally turned me on to this adventure was that I wanted a Halloween theme. After going through many different scenarios, many of which had more integral Halloween elements, I chose to run the Ilsley variant because I love the setting and the tie-in, and it was very easy for us to weave into our existing campaign. However, while I loved many aspects of the adventure and we had a lot of fun playing it, there are some areas that need some serious fleshing out, which we'll go into. But first, here's the part where I need to warn the players in the audience that there will be spoilers. Bum bum bum! Seriously though, spoilers ahead. Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's dispense with the vague generalities and cut right to specifics. The scenario opens up at a Halloween party of a wealthy associate. This is a good time for your players, just have some fun deciding what their characters are going to wear and all that. For the party, their host has replaced all of the paintings and the art in his house with macabre and thematic pieces to go along with the mood.
It also gives us a great opportunity to drink during the Prohibition era, because, nobody knows who we are.
Roleplay the party up, have fun. At some point, one of the PCs is going to notice a painting that's titled The King on the Throne. Unfortunately, there is no illustration to go along with this painting. So, GMs will either have to relay the description in the module and give that to the players, or you can search the internet for some pictures that sound a lot like this painting. Now, what draws the player's attention more than the king with his crown upon a troubled brow is the inscription behind him. Characters will need to save versus POW or develop a mild obsession with these strange runes and want to know what they are. This is a fun hook if one of your players is a linguist or maybe an expert on art. You can also have their host mention that he's interested in what these runes could mean as well, and maybe offer the players a little bit of money if they could find out for him.
Wait a second. Did we just do a Call of Cthulhu party where no one died and nothing got stolen? I'm not really sure how to process this.
After some sleuthing around, the PCs will learn that the runes in the painting were written in what's called the Ilsley Variant, an ancient language that's since been dismissed as a hoax. The authority on the Ilsley Variant was a disgraced professor, Irvin H. Roberts. Roberts ruined his reputation by claiming that the language was real, and he linked it to such things as Hyperborea, Atlantis, and the Sons of Arius. He claimed to possess a book that was titled The Road of Kings, and that used the language which he learned it from. However, the disgraced professor has since killed himself at his home in Cross Plains, Texas. Now, if any of these terms sound familiar to you, it's because Irvin H. Roberts is really just a reference to pulp author and Lovecraft's friend, Robert Irvin Howard, most famous for creating Conan. Howard was also from Cross Plains, Texas. And as a Texan and a Robert E. Howard fan myself, I found this tie-in just too good to pass up. The PCs will have to travel to Cross Plains if they can get a copy of Robert's notes or possibly his copy of Road of Kings.
Pack your bags, boys and girls. We are going to Texas. Get your 10-gallon hat, your spittoon. Do they issue us a horse when we get to the border or like when we get to the train station? I don't know how this works.
On the train ride down there, that's when they're going to meet the module's villain, Spencer Wade. The module sort of breezes through this portion with no real information, just that they meet him. They might recognize him from the party, and they says he's easy to chat with, but to me, this is an enormously wasted opportunity. So what I did is that we spent a lot of time on this 3-day train ride. I found some trade car floor plans from the old Sourcebook of the 1920s and printed them out full size. Now, it doesn't make any sense that Wade was at the same party at the beginning. In fact, that just leads to more confusion, so I just cut that part out. Instead, I focused on the fact that he's a businessman from Boston. He's very well-to-do and interested in antiques, which might be a similarity that he has with the characters. The PCs took the train from Arkham to Boston, where they got on a new train, and that's where they first saw him. After 2 days and several layovers, he kind of became a familiar face that they'd been seeing this entire time.
I've seen you around here for a while. Are you going to Cross Plains too? What are the freaking chances that two people are going from Boston to this little hick town in the middle of nowhere? Well, sure, yeah, I'd love to play some cards with you to pass the time. Pull them out.
So while they're all on the train, Wade invites the PCs to a friendly game of poker over which they talk. The poker game ended up becoming a big part of the session, so to keep it interesting, I made up some poker rules for the game on the fly, and they're pretty simple. First, each player rolls a fast talk to represent their bluff. Extreme success grants a bonus die, failure incurs a penalty die. Next, each player rolls psychology to see through each other's bluffs. Regular success grants a bonus die, while a fumble equals a penalty die. Finally, all the players roll a luck roll using these bonus and penalty dice they've acquired. If more than one succeeds, those remaining players increase the pot and do it again. These rules are pretty simple, and they work great for when we're using 5 to 6 players all going at once. If we were looking at a small, two-person game, you could make it a little bit more detailed, but this worked for us. Also, I used some of the coins from campaign coins from a Kickstarter that I received to work as chips, and that kind of added to the enjoyment. The players got so into playing poker within the Call of Cthulhu game that I eventually had to stop it, otherwise it could have just gone on all night.
What do you mean we got to get back to the adventure? I'm having a good run. I don't want to stop playing.
Hopefully by the end of this train ride, the PCs will consider Wade to be a pretty good ally and a nice contact to have while they're in town. If they told him about the reason that they're going to Cross Plains, he will definitely be watching them. Once they've arrived in Cross Plains, there's a few other NPCs they can meet. The PCs will likely check out Robert's house looking for the book. Also, there's no map provided for the house. Just for fun, I say that you make it look like Robert E. Howard's real house. Unfortunately, my Google Foo has yet to find an actual floor plan for the real Howard house, so if anyone finds one, let me know in the comments. Now, of course, the book isn't actually in the house, and the PCs are going to have to ask around what happened to Robert's effects. This might require an idea roll for them to do it, but eventually they'll discover that all of Professor Robert's books were donated to the library in nearby Baird, just about 30 miles away. Once they get the book, there could be another problem. It's in Latin. It's no issue if you have a character that speaks Latin, but if you don't, I suggest that you have part of the book have been translated into English by Professor Roberts. If not the spell being translated, at least the story. The story, The Mirror of Zul-Zadam, is a little long. I strongly suggest that keepers print it out and give it to your players. The story tells of an evil wizard who gets trapped in a mirror. The included spell in the book explains how to open that mirror portal to release the wizard and then get access to all the treasure that's trapped in there with him. Now Wade is also looking for this book. He purchased the Mirror of Zul-Zadam years before at a European antique store. For my own game, I changed that from being a European antique store to being the House of Augsburg, which is the key setting for the auction scenario. Here's a bit of foreshadowing before we actually ran that adventure later. Wade wants the book in order to release Zul-Zadam. If you've done an effective job playing him, it shouldn't feel too unusual when he invites the PCs to dinner at his house the night before they leave town.
Oh, sure, I would love to come to your house and have dinner before we go. No problem. Hey, you know what? Maybe afterwards we could play a little bit more poker and I could win a little bit more of your money. What do you say?
There is no map for Wade's house. Fortunately, it's a pretty simple floor plan. He also has several interesting paintings and a few mythos books that the PCs might discover, at least, after all the fireworks happen. Sometime after dinner, maybe after a few drinks, Wade will invite the PCs upstairs to his study to see his most prized possession. That, of course, is the mirror. Combat will ensue, and Wade and Zul-Zadam are going to try to kill or maybe incapacitate the PCs in order to get the book. Several things can happen here, and this fight can go a lot of different ways. Most likely, the PCs are going to smash the mirror, trapping the evil wizard in it forever. Now, any gunshots that are fired in the house will soon draw any local police, and the PCs are going to have to think quick Otherwise, they might end up in jail and possibly going to prison. For our game, the part of the players coming up with different alibis and how to get away from all this without actually getting in trouble ended up being a huge highlight for our game. We had a lot of fun with this. Now, if the PCs do well in the adventure, they'll safely leave Cross Plains, Texas, possibly with a few extra Mythos books and some valuable paintings to boot. The module ends with several idea hooks for possible future adventures, which is pretty cool, and I appreciate that. However, one thing that it doesn't end with is any sanity reward. While this is not a sanity-crushing game, keepers will need to give some sort of reward to players that have dispatched these two evil wizards and possibly destroyed this magical mirror. Not to mention if they face off Wade's hunting horror that he's going to send after them if they deny his dinner request.
Hold on, so he was all like, hey, why don't you come to my house and have dinner, or else I'll send a freaking hunting horror after you? Damn, remind me never to turn down a party invite again.
Overall, the Ilsley Variant is an okay adventure. While I love the hook and I love the Robert E. Howard tie-in, the scenario doesn't offer very much in the way of the villain. It doesn't flesh him out enough, and it doesn't really describe how to play him, and his introduction is a bit awkward. Add in a complete lack of maps and art, especially in a scenario that's dealing with art, and you end up with kind of an underwhelming adventure. However, game masters that follow my suggestion or make the additions that I suggested can very easily turn this into an extremely fun and memorable adventure.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, or maybe even give it a share somewhere, let other people see it. If you want to see some more of our stuff, just hit that little subscribe button over there. But until next time, gamers, you have a great day. Yeah, they never gave me that horse when I got to the Texas border. I don't know what was up with that.